It's 8:30 in the morning. The elevator silently carries you to the 25th floor of a glass tower. The doors open, and you're greeted by the familiar scent of air conditioning, expensive coffee, and a subtle hint of anxiety. You walk through the open plan office, nodding to your colleagues. Everything is as usual. Anna from marketing is fixing her makeup, buried in her phone. Sergey from the analytics department is already mesmerizing a spreadsheet with the quarterly report. You can hear the steady hum of coolers, the clicking of keyboards, and the muffled laughter at the coffee machine. This is a temple of stability. This is your fortress. You're sure it will always be this way. You're sure that this chair, this desk, this monitor, and this paycheck deposited twice a month are your well-deserved reward for years of study, for a diploma from a prestigious university, for sleepless nights working on projects. You look at this anthill and see a thriving ecosystem. But I look at it and see a cemetery. No one told you, but you're already dead. Not physically, of course. Your heart beats, your lungs pump oxygen, and your brain is making plans for summer vacation. You're economically dead. You're a walking anachronism, a ghost from a bygone era who keeps going to work out of inertia, simply because the order to decommission you hasn't yet cleared all the bureaucratic channels. But it's already signed, the seal has been affixed. And the ink is already dry. Let's be honest. Your entire life, you've been sold the same old story. You've been told, study hard, use your head, not your hands, and you'll be safe. You've been told that intelligence is a valuable asset that can't be devalued. That physical labor is for losers or robots, while you, the white-collar workers, the creative class, the elite of the information society, will always be in demand in the market. After all, you know how to think. You know how to write texts, balance sheets, design logos, write code, draft legal contracts. It's so hard, right? They teach you this for 5 years at university. What a tragic, what a monstrous mistake. You didn't notice how the rules of the game changed. While you were sleeping, while you were building your career, while you were taking out a 30-year mortgage, an event occurred in the world comparable in scale to the meteorite that killed the dinosaurs. Intelligence is no longer a scarce commodity. Intelligence has become a commodity, a cheap, accessible, ubiquitous commodity sold by the pound, like sugar or buckwheat. And the price of this commodity is falling every day. The system's algorithms are set to hide such videos, so subscribe and like now. It's the only way to ensure the next warning reaches you before disaster strikes. Leave a comment if you're ready to learn what others aren't telling you. Look at the server room behind the glass partition at the end of the hallway. See that inconspicuous black cabinet with the blinking blue LED? There, in the silence and cold, lives a creature that doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, doesn't ask for a raise, doesn't go on maternity leave, and doesn't suffer from burnout. And right now, while you're sipping your morning latte, this creature is learning to do your job. Not just help you, not be your assistant, but do it for you, completely, totally. And, worst of all, do it better, faster, and thousands of times cheaper. Do you think you're unique? Let's break down your workday. What do? You take information from point A, process it according to certain rules, and pass it on to point B. You write a report based on the data. You draw a layout according to a brief. You write code according to a technical specification. You draft a lawsuit according to the law. You are a biorobot processing data. Previously, a human brain was needed to perform these functions, because machines were dumb calculators. But now the machine has learned to understand context. It has learned to create. It has learned to simulate empathy. You are a horse at the beginning of the 20th century. Imagine yourself in that horse's place. You're standing in the stable, munching oats and watching a strange, rattling horseless cart roll down the street. You snort. What nonsense, you think. That thing stinks of gasoline. It breaks down often. It's expensive. And I am a strong, reliable, beautiful horse. My owner loves me. I carried his father and his grandfather. I will always be needed. Poor, naive horse. She doesn't know that Henry Ford has already launched the assembly line. She doesn't know that in 10 years she'll be turned into sausage because keeping her will become economically pointless. You are that horse now. You look at the neural networks and laugh at their mistakes. Ha ha, look, she drew 6 fingers. Oh, she wrote something stupid in the text. You cling to these errors like a drowning man to a straw, trying to convince yourself that a machine will never replace the human soul and true professionalism. You reassure yourself with mantras like, artificial intelligence is simply a tool that will enhance humans, not replace them. This is a lie concocted by corporations to keep you from starting a rebellion prematurely. They need you to sit quietly while they tweak the algorithms. They need you to train your killer with your own hands. Every time you correct a chatbot's response, every time you upload your work to the cloud, you feed the beast. You make it smarter. You dig your own grave. Do you think layoffs are only threatening low-skilled workers? Cashiers, drivers, loaders? Take a look around. Cashiers and drivers are the physical world. To replace a driver, you need an expensive robot, lidars, sensors, and complex mechanics. But to replace a lawyer, copywriter, or programmer, All you need is a server and electricity. You, the white-collar workers, are the easiest prey. You are just text on a screen. You are bytes of information. You are the easiest to erase. Right now, a conversation is happening in the boardroom of your company that you shouldn't know about. The CFO is showing a chart. It has 2 lines. The red line represents payroll expenses, your salaries, insurance, taxes, rent for this fancy office, the cookies in the kitchen. This line is going up. And the blue line is the cost of a subscription to the enterprise version of the neural network. This line is approaching 0. What decision do you think a capitalist will make? They have no morals. All they have is a calculator. And the calculator says, why pay a 10-person marketing department 1,000,000 rubles a month if a single operator with a neural network can produce the same result for 50,000? Why keep a staff of translators? Why do we need a customer support department if a bot responds instantly in every language and is never rude? This isn't a crisis. It's a paradigm shift. It's the end of an era when the average person could live well simply by being able to read, write, and follow instructions. That skill has been devalued to 0. You finish your coffee. It tastes delicious. You return to your desk, open your email, and begin replying to messages, feeling like an important cog in a big machine. But if you listen closely, you'll hear a quiet, barely audible sound through the office noise. It's not the hum of the air conditioner, it's the sound of a sharpening knife. A knife that will soon cut the umbilical cord that connects you to the trough. The illusion of security will suddenly disappear. One day, your pass simply won't work at the turnstile. Your account will be blocked, and a stone-faced security guard will hand you a cardboard box for your personal belongings. You'll ask, why? I worked hard. But they won't answer. Because there will be no one to answer. The program made the decision. Cost optimization, nothing personal, just business. Welcome to a new world where you're an extra asset on the balance sheet. And writing that asset off is a matter of the next 18 months. Let's take the emotions out of it. Let's forget about your ambitions, mortgages, and crying children. Let's look at you through the eyes of a cold, impartial auditor whose job is to find inefficiencies and eliminate them. Do you think you're a valuable employee? Do you think your degree, your experience, your loyalty to the company are worth anything? Let me show you the numbers, just the numbers. And trust me, you won't like this math. It will destroy you. In the modern economy, there's only one law that works without fail, the law of conservation of monetary energy. Capital always flows along the path of least resistance. If the same result can be achieved by spending fewer resources, the market will inevitably, with gravitational inevitability, choose this path. Let's calculate how much you're worth. You are a human being, a biological machine. Very expensive, capricious, and extremely inefficient to maintain. To keep you working, you need to be paid a salary. Let's say it's 100,000 rubles, but to an employer, you're not worth 100,000. You're worth 140, or even 150. Social security contributions, taxes, and insurance are added on top. You need a workspace, a desk, a chair, a computer, and licensed software. That's more money. You need an office with heating, lighting, security, and a cleaning lady. That's rent. You need vacation, 28 days a year the company pays you for not working. You need sick leave. You need corporate events, team building activities, cookies, and coffee to keep you from getting sad and burning out. Now let's look at your productivity. Do you work 8 hours a day? Don't make me laugh. Of those 8 hours, you spend an hour on lunch, another hour on smoke breaks, coffee, and chatting with colleagues. Another hour you just stare at your computer, procrastinate, and scroll through social media because your brain is tired. So, at best, you produce 5 hours of useful work, 5 hours, and then you go home for 16 hours of recovery, sleeping, eating, and having fun. You're a machine that spends 2/3 of its time idle but requires fuel 24/7. Now look at your competitor, at the algorithm. How much does an hour of neural network operation cost? Pennies, literally. The cost of a token, a unit of information processed by the model, approaches 0. A server doesn't need vacations. It doesn't need sick leave. It doesn't suffer from hangovers, depression, divorce, or a sick cat. It doesn't need an expensive office in the center of Moscow with panoramic windows. It feels perfectly comfortable in a dark hangar somewhere above the Arctic Circle where electricity is cheap and cold air is available for cooling. The server runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, no lunch breaks, no weekends, no holidays. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't form unions. It doesn't file complaints with the labor inspectorate. It simply churns out tasks at a speed your biological brain never dreamed of. Let's compare. You're a copywriter. You write an article for 3 hours. You research, formulate your thoughts, drink coffee, erase, and rewrite. A neural network writes the same article in 3 seconds. 3 hours versus 3 seconds. The efficiency gap is 3,600 times. Even if the neural network's output requires editing, even if you need to spend 10 minutes polishing the text, you're still losing hundreds of times. You're a lawyer. You spend 2 days analyzing a 100-page contract, identifying risks, and drafting a protocol of disagreements. AI does it in a minute, highlighting all the dangerous clauses, citing current case law, and suggesting defensive language. You're a designer. You spend a week designing a logo. AI generates 100 variations in an hour, in different styles, in vector format, and ready for print. See what I'm getting at? The gap isn't in percentages, it's in orders of magnitude. It's like comparing a digger with a shovel to a giant rotary excavator. Yes, the digger can dig very diligently. He can be a virtuoso with a shovel. But an excavator can remove as much soil with one bucket as a digger would in a month. And the excavator doesn't get tired. Technology used to replace muscles. The tractor replaced the plowman. The loom replaced the weaver. But back then, man had a refuge, his mind. A machine can do hard work, but it can't think, we used to say. And that was true. Until now. Now technology has come for your brain. It has cracked the code of creativity, the code of logic, the code of decision-making. This isn't just automation. It's the annihilation of the value of human labor. You might object, but AI makes mistakes. It's hallucinating. It needs a human to control it. Yes, for now. Today. But you're forgetting about learning speed. 6 months ago, neural networks couldn't draw hands. Today, they create photorealistic paintings that win art competitions. 6 months ago, they wrote incoherent gibberish. Today, they pass the bar and medical exams better than 90% of graduates. The speed of progress is exponential. What seems like a stupid machine error to you today will be fixed tomorrow with a patch that downloads in a second. What about you? How fast do you learn? How long does it take you to master a new skill? A year? 2? 5 years? You don't have that time. While you're reading one book, a model can swallow the entire Library of Congress. You can't compete with it in learning speed. It's a race you've already lost at the start. And so we come to the main conclusion, the financial verdict. You've become a toxic asset for businesses. You're too expensive, you're too slow, you're too risky. Why pay you when I can buy a subscription to a service for $20 a month that will replace 3 people like you? This isn't a question of ethics. It's a question of business survival. The entrepreneur who first fires their white-collar workforce and replaces them with algorithms will gain a colossal advantage. They'll reduce costs, speed up processes, and devour competitors who still cling to human resources. The market will force everyone to do this. Businesses will simply have no choice. Either you automate processes and fire people, or you go bankrupt. This isn't the malicious intent of Freemasons or reptilians. It's pure, distilled, ruthless economics. You've become more valuable than the electricity needed to do your work. And in the world of capital, that's a mortal sin. Your salary is a relic of the era of intelligence shortage. The shortage is over. Abundance has arrived. And like any commodity in a state of overproduction, the value of your labor is approaching zero. You stand on the shore of a tsunami, trying to stem it with the umbrella of your soft skills and teamwork skills. But the wave doesn't care. The wave is mathematics. And mathematics has already counted you and crossed you out. Close your eyes and imagine a flood. But not water. Imagine a flood of people. The streets of big cities, New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, are filled with crowds of confused, well-dressed people with expensive briefcases and empty eyes. These aren't workers in hard hats, banging them on the pavement, demanding wages. These aren't migrants seeking a better life. These are the elite. These are the people who just yesterday were sitting in air-conditioned offices, drinking smoothies, and considering themselves the salt of the earth. Lawyers, accountants, marketers, copywriters, translators, middle managers, HR specialists, analysts, junior programmers. Millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions worldwide. They didn't take to the streets because they were going on strike. They took to the streets because their passes were blocked. Their jobs weren't just cut, their professions were annihilated. Their skills, which they had spent years of their lives in a fortune acquiring, suddenly, overnight, became worth exactly zero. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Do you think the labor market is a resilient thing that can handle this? Well, they'll find another job, you say. They'll retrain. On whom? Let's dismantle this myth about retraining. Previously, when a loom replaced a weaver, the weaver could go to a factory to assemble those looms. When a tractor replaced a plowman, the plowman could become a driver or a mechanic. But now the situation is fundamentally different. Intellectual labor is being automated, not selectively, but en masse. Artificial intelligence is taking over not just one profession, but an entire layer of cognitive activity, the entire information processing sector. Where will the army of laid-off lawyers go? To become taxi drivers? But taxis are already driven by autopilots. To become couriers? Drones and delivery robots are already cheaper and more reliable. To become copywriters? That niche is dead. To become programmers? The irony is that AI killed junior coders first. It writes cleaner and faster code. We stand on the brink of the greatest social crisis in history. It's a crisis of rootlessness. A huge mass of people, accustomed to high levels of consumption, to status, to respect, suddenly discover their superfluous mouths to feed. They don't know how to do anything real. They don't know how to lay tile. They don't know how to fix wiring. They don't know how to grow food. They've spent their entire lives learning to manipulate symbols on a screen. And now these symbols are generated by a machine for free. What happens to the psyche of someone who, at 40, is told, "You're no longer needed. Your experience is trash. Your diploma is just a piece of paper"? This isn't just a loss of income. It's a collapse of identity. A wave of depression, suicide, and family breakdown will sweep across the civilized world. People will cling to the ghosts of the past, trying to prove that a human approach is still important. But the market is cruel. Clients don't need a human approach when drafting a lease. They need a well-written document here and now, preferably for free. Governments aren't prepared for this. No social system in the world can withstand the strain of 20 or 30% of the working population simultaneously registering for unemployment. This would collapse the tax base. Who will pay taxes if the middle class disappears? Robots don't pay taxes. Corporations will find ways to optimize profits through offshore companies. The entire consumer economy, built on millions of office workers having enough money for a new iPhone, a mortgage, or a Friday night out, will collapse like a house of cards. Without wages, there's no demand. Without demand, there's no production. It's a deflationary spiral with no escape. They tell you, new professions will emerge. Prompt engineers, neural network operators. It's a lie they're feeding you to keep you from panicking. Yes, such professions will emerge, but the need for them will be thousands of times smaller than the number of laid-off employees. A single operator with a powerful AI will replace an entire department of 50 people. And what about the other 49? They will become the precariat, a new class of useless people living on handouts on that very unconditional basic income we talked about in the last story. But the price of this handout is total control and digital bondage. You will sit at home in virtual reality because there is no place for you in physical reality. You will be given cheap digital entertainment to keep you from rebelling. We will see a monstrous stratification. On one side, a tiny caste of technomages, algorithm masters, and those few geniuses capable of controlling AI. On the other, a vast mass of former white-collar workers reduced to the level of machine service personnel. And the scariest thing about this tsunami is that it's invisible. There are no burning factories, no bread lines, yet offices are emptying quietly. Contracts are simply not being renewed. Vacancies are simply being filled. Freelancers simply stop receiving orders. Silence. Dead silence in the open spaces. The lights are going out floor after floor. You look at your colleague and think, this won't affect me. I'm a highly skilled professional. You know what your colleague is thinking? The same thing. And the algorithm that's currently analyzing your correspondence and your productivity is also thinking. Only it thinks in numbers. And the numbers tell you that you're both a statistical error that needs to be eliminated. The tsunami has already formed in the ocean. The water has receded from the shore, exposing the seabed. People are running around, collecting shells, enjoying the low tide. They don't look at the horizon, and there a wall of water as tall as a skyscraper is rising. And when it collapses, there will be nowhere to run. The only chance to escape is to understand the nature of the wave and stop being someone it can wash away. Stop being just information processors. But more on that in the finale. We've reached the end. The point where panic ends and the cold calculation of survival begins. I've painted a bleak picture for you, but I didn't say there's no way out. There is a way out. It's just in a place most of you are afraid to even look. Forget everything you were taught in personal growth training. Throw away books about success and time management. Stop focusing on soft skills, communication skills, teamwork, emotional intelligence in the office. All of this was important in the human world. In the machine world, it's garbage. The algorithm doesn't care how outgoing you are. It doesn't need team building. You're being given an ultimatum. Harsh, uncompromising, final. The era of mediocrity is over. The era of solid average developers who don't reach for the stars but do their job well is dead. Why? Because artificial intelligence generates average results instantly and for free. If your level is normal, then you're worth nothing. If you write normal texts, draw normal logos, write normal code, you're bankrupt. The point of no return has been passed. You have two paths left. And only two, there is no third option. Path 1. Become the master of algorithms. This is the path for technocrats, for people with a mathematical mindset, for those ready to rewire their brains. You must stop competing with the machine and start managing it. Become the one who writes prompts, who configures neural networks, who integrates them into business processes. This is the caste of new feudal lords. But there are a few spots there, catastrophically few. Thousands of laid-off programmers will compete for a single AI systems architect position. It's a bloody race where you have to run at the speed of light just to stay in place. Path 2. Become a new craftsman. And here lies your real opportunity. The paradox of the digital revolution is that it has devalued digital assets while dramatically increasing the value of real, physical, and unique items. In a world where any text, any image, any melody can be generated in a second, the only currency is what a machine can't do. What can't she do? She can't fix the faucet in your home. She can't give you a massage. She can't bake real bread that smells like childhood. She can't perform complex surgery with her hands. She can't build a house out of bricks. She can't create a work of art that reflects the artist's pain, passion, and personal story, rather than simply a compilation of styles from a database. We're returning to the Middle Ages, but at a new turn of the spiral. Handcraftedness, in the broadest sense, is becoming a value. Uniqueness, a personal brand based on charisma, on physical presence. If you're a lawyer, become someone who wins cases not by knowing the law, AI knows it, but by your oratory skills, your ability to galvanize jurors, and the theatricality of the proceedings. If you are a doctor, become someone who heals with words, touch, empathy, who sees the patient as a whole and not as a set of symptoms. If you're an office clerk, run. Learn to work with your hands. Plumber, electrician, carpenter, cook, farmer. These professions will become the new elite. People will pay through the nose for a real person to come to them and do something real, for the human touch. Are you scared? Of course. Taking off your white shirt and putting on overalls is a blow to your ego. It's a loss of status. But I went to university. Your university prepared you for a world that no longer exists. Accept it, reconcile yourself, and start learning again. Look for niches where responsibility is essential. AI can't be held accountable. It can't go to jail. It can't risk its reputation. Where the cost of error is high, there will always be a need for a human to sign off and say, I'm responsible for this. These include construction, medicine, complex logistics, childcare, and elderly care. Stop being a function. Become a person. A machine can copy Van Gogh's style, but it can't cut off its ear from love. A machine can write a symphony, but it can't cry while listening to it. Anything connected to deep human emotions, to the physical world, to real risk, that's your territory. Dig in there. Build your fortress there. The office age was short and sweet. It was an anomaly when millions of people earned good money shuffling papers. This banquet is over. The waiters bring out the bills, and you won't like them. The lights in the room go out. The music stops. Pack your things. The box for your personal belongings is already at the exit. Don't wait for security to kick you out. Leave on your own. Escape to the real world while you still remember what it looks like. To a world where there's the smell of rain, the weight of a hammer in your hand, and the joy of having accomplished something real. This isn't the end of the world. This is the end of illusions, and the beginning of real, difficult, but living life. It won't be the smartest who survive. It won't be the strongest who survive. It will be the truest who survive. Tick, tock. Time has begun.